What's up, you?
Yeah. Yesterday we had Sunday roast over my sister-in-law Jenna, and she cooked a beautiful leg of lamb, and she always keeps the bones for me whenever she cooks anything like that. There is a small holding next to where she lives where they got chickens and lamb and small animals. Ducks, yes. And she always keeps the bones because she knows that I use them for cooking. It's a waste if you don't. And so if you're cooking anything similar and you have got something like what I've got here today, the bones from a joint of lamb, ideal. I've got the ingredients in front of me. I'll quickly put it together, but the benefit here is that this will be cooking long and slow on a very, very low temperature. So I start by applying a little olive oil, or some olive oil. Somebody might say it's not a little olive oil inside a cast iron pot. I use cast iron pots for this job because they hold the heat for a long time, and you can actually cook them anything in there at a very low temperature, and they're ideal. But of course, if you do not have one, by all means use a normal pot. So I'll start making a soffritto, and I'm going to be generous with the ingredients today because this will be cooking for a long time, and also I will be leaving things almost whole. So for example, here's the garlic. I'll remove the skin today as I don't want it, but I'll just give it a gentle crush, and I'll add it to my pot. I'm going to use a large carrot, and I'll remove the top part and the bottom part, but I'm going to leave it in big chunks, just like this. And this is quite good because it will retain all of its shape as it cooks. In it goes. Next is going to be some salt and pepper first, before I forget. And my soffritto will be completed with a couple of medium-sized onions. What I like about these recipes is that the amount of ingredients you add is entirely up to you, really. So I could have added one onion, or I could have added an extra carrot. So this is very much down to personal choices. But like I did with the carrots, I'm going to chop it in half, and then I'll chop it in half once again. I'll do the same also with the onion number 2, and that is how I'm going to leave them, because they will obviously cook for a long time, and I want them to retain their shape. And we can move to the hob next. I'll turn this down, otherwise you won't hear me. So the onions and the carrots have been sizzling for a few minutes. If you take a look, they're beginning to brown up a little. You do not have to wait much longer than that. At this point I'm going to add my bone. I'll just bend it as it's going to be big. They can go in, and also these are actually I wanted to show there are still some residues of meat left on the bone, which is great, as this will come apart as they will cook. This is the skin on the top of the bone, which on the top of the meat, which I left on purpose so it can go in, and that will also add flavour. I've got here my tomato passata, and
the bits you left behind.
I can add it to everything now, and I'll turn the temperature up, and I'll wait until it starts boiling. When you cook bones like this, by the way, the collagen breaks down, and it releases some gelatin. That is because obviously you're cooking them long and slow, and that gelatin will also be release amino acids, which is great for the body. So not only you get the flavor from the gelatin, but also you get goodness for your body. Helps making maybe your bones stronger.
Let's hope so.
By the way, as this will be cooking for a long time, in my tomato passata I also added a little water, about a glass of water, normal glass, so that it gave me the opportunity to rinse the carton, but obviously that will evaporate. This is rosemary, and rosemary is absolutely perfect with lamb. So I'm going to add a couple of sprigs straight away now, whilst the sauce is ready to start boiling. And in the meantime, I will go here some mushrooms, which needs to be consumed, and I'll get them ready, but just like I did with the other vegetables, I'll chop them in half, not more than that, as they will shrink anyway, and then they can be added to the sauce. And by the way, assuming you're going to be using mushrooms, some of them are quite small, so the smaller ones I'm leaving them whole. It's just the bigger ones I'm cutting in half. So anything which is this size will stay whole, anything bigger will be chopped in half. And everything is bubbling away, and we are ready to add the mushrooms. So I'll do that now, and there we go. I'll give everything one final mix to ensure that the mushrooms are covered by the sauce, and I can see that they'll shrink anyway. So next I'll put the lid on, and I'll turn the temperature down, but on a very, very low setting. Literally, mine has got 9 different points between 0 to 9. So I'm putting it on number 2. If you've got a gas hob, turn it on the very, very lowest setting. And I'm going to leave it. This will use hardly any electricity, and it would also use hardly any gas. I'm going to leave it for a few hours. It's now 1:45, giving an understanding. So I'll see you around 5 o'clock, and I'll leave it to just do its own thing for just over 4 hours. See you then. Ciao, ciao for now. I think it is a bit of a shame that in modern society we tend to look at meals like this with a little bit of doubt, when actually it used to be very normal in the old days. My grandparents used to tell me stories, especially during the Second and the First World War, where it was very, very common to make use of everything you had, because food was much not available, and we seem to have lost that nowadays. So this is a little bit of a nostalgic dish, but the smell is incredible. When we went to see my sister-in-law and her husband yesterday, and I walked through the house, the first thing I was able to establish is that they were cooking lamb, and that is exactly the same smell I've got today. But look at the bone, it's clean as a whistle. To use a good English expression. You will remember that I was all covered in meat before, and it's just falling off now. So I'm really pleased, and I'll just remove the remainder, and including some of the fat. Actually, I personally like it. I think it adds so much more flavour. Julie not so keen. She often give it to me, but I think that is what makes the big difference in meals often. If meat is too lean, I think it can taste sometimes like cardboard, and nobody wants that. Anyway, this is done. I just wanted to show it to you, and here is my sauce. I just move this out of the way, and I'll put it directly under the camera so you can see what has happened. So here we go. Look, you can see how the color of the sauce has changed, and everything is still there in terms of nothing has disintegrated. And the one thing I wanted to do though is to just test the little mushrooms, because some of them are whole. Just to let you know what happens. Oh, they're lovely. They are al dente still, even after 4¼ hours. It's now 5 o'clock. So next I'll cook the pasta, and then we can put it together, and I'll tell you what it's like. Today's choice for me is going to be something called the paccheri. Here, it's a pasta that I brought back from Italy, and this is made in Puglia. And what I like about it is that besides the shape, because the sauce will go inside, it's quite rough and porous. And when you're making sauces like this, which are quite watery and more liquid than normal, I think it's important to choose the right type of pasta, because you want the pasta to absorb the sauce and the sauce to attach to it. So a porous pasta is great. If I didn't have this pasta paccheri, I would have used rigatoni. Here, I'm sure that you are familiar with rigatoni, and that would have been my choice, because A is my favorite pasta, but also they got this little indentation in here, these little stripes, which will make sure that the sauce gets stuck to the pasta. Oh, of course, use any pasta you like. This is just my advice. So I'll cook the pasta, and I'll see you in a few minutes. Have you ever cooked any leftover bones like this before? If you have, let me know in the comments. I'd be interested to know. Also, I have recently discovered that YouTube has enabled for people to post their own photos and comments directly into my community post on the channel. So if you try or any dishes, not necessarily this dish, just post a photo on the community page. I'd love to see what you cook at home, and they do not have to be my recipes either, just a great opportunity to exchange amongst the community and see what other people cook. By the way, you do not obviously have to just do this with lamb. You can do this with any bones, and I often do it with chicken, but with chicken I tend to do more of a broth rather than a sauce. I don't know, chicken and tomatoes don't go very well with me, but also pork and beef. It's obviously open to any type of bones. So I always like to add a little sauce with the pasta after it's been cooked. I leave that in there whilst I get my dish out, and then I'll top it up. And I can go ahead and dish some of the solids now, and this is actually what I like most about these dishes, besides the fact that obviously something which would have potentially gone in the bin is being used for good food, but the chunky carrot, the chunky mushrooms and everything is absolutely delicious. Look at this, it's wonderful. Obviously when I make this, I always make a big batch, and it's quite watery as well, so I can then use it for a base for a pasta bake if I want, but I tend to freeze it, and then this will do us most probably three to 4 meals altogether, because it goes a long way, so it's incredibly good value for money. And I'll finish with a little parsley at the very top, and this is decorative, but also it will release some nice flavour. And if you like Italian cheese such as grated Parmigiano or Pecorino or Grana, this is the time to add it, just a little on the top, not too much. I don't want to overpower it with cheese, so time to taste it. I'm keen to really tell you what it's like. It's a big piece of onion. I'll just get some pasta. This is the only problem with this pasta, it's so big that one piece is almost a meal. It's incredible. The flavor of the lamb is so strong, even if it was just a bone, and the little bits of fat and the collagen is delicious. I hope you make it, because sometimes people do not realize the goodness of this sort of meals. It's not rich in meat if you think about it, but if you do make it, make sure that you leave a little bit of meat on the bone. Do not completely scrape it off, because it will come off in your sauce and it will add that added beautiful flavor. I'm very happy with it. I'm sure Julie will be, so we're going to eat now. Thank you. See you later. Bye.